I've been traveling alone for the past 5 months, and there were some points in the trip where I felt the loneliest I have ever been. I couldn't relate to anyone, I wasn't with friends, and I was thousands of miles away from home. No self-help habits or strategies could help me get out of this feeling that I was feeling. So that's not what this video is going to be about. This video is just going to be about how to get out of the rut of being lonely and how to deal with being alone without being lonely. So without further ado, let's dive right in. I believe that there is a strong difference between being alone and feeling alone. I like being alone. In fact, I kind of like it. I get to get work done, I don't have a ton of distractions around me, and sometimes I just want some peace and quiet. But being alone can also come with feeling alone after a certain period of time. And this can sometimes stem from the feeling that you can't relate to anything, either physically or non-physically, like interests or just personality types or actual physical boundaries like language, cultures, or borders. And I went through the loneliest time of my life on this gap year, but I'm here now. And this brings me to my first point. The first thing that I want to say about dealing with loneliness is that it will pass. Like basically everything in life, good and bad, the feeling of loneliness will eventually pass and you will eventually feel better. The loneliest time for me was when I had traveled to northern France and I was in a hostel for a week and I was just bedrotting. I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but I was basically homeless for about 9 hours and I was in the freezing cold out waiting for a train to take me back to a hostel. For the next week I had no one to talk to because not many people spoke English, and it was one of the loneliest times of my life. And I would sit for hours on my computer watching YouTube videos because that helped me escape, or at least I thought it helped me escape. But in the long term, it made me feel more lonely because I wasn't putting myself out there. I wasn't getting physically active at all. I wasn't going out and trying to meet new people. I would just be in my bed, watch YouTube videos for the whole day. Then I would go get food and then come back and then do the same thing all over again for the next week. And that was the loneliest time in my life. But 2 weeks later, I was having the best experiences of my life. I had gone to London and I was in London for 2 weeks. I don't know what it was about London, but it felt so much better. Maybe it was because people spoke the same language. Maybe it was because I just knew London because I had been there before, but it truly was an amazing, amazing experience walking around London, being in London. And I made friends. I was running pretty much every day. I was walking 10,000 steps. And so I think a lot of this contributed to why I felt better. But we're gonna dive into that in a little bit here. Then after London, I went up to Scotland for Christmas, saw my whole family, stayed there for a little bit, and then now I'm currently in Southeast Asia. I was in Malaysia for a little bit, then now I'm alone in Vietnam. In Malaysia, I was with two very good friends of mine who are very, very like-minded, and we were having an amazing time going to the gym together, getting food together. It was amazing. But then here in Vietnam, I was alone. And I started to feel lonely, but not as alone as I did before, because the language barrier is still there. Not many people speak English here, and the culture is completely different. But why is it that I don't feel super lonely here, but I felt really lonely in France, a place that seems to be more Western? And I did get lonely for about a day, I think. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm lonely, but the next day I felt fine. So what was it about Vietnam that is so different? Well, I think I've been going to the gym every single day. I have been working in a cafe every day, getting out, seeing people. Not being in hostels really helped as well. I actually have my own room because everything is so cheap here. And I've been eating good food. I've been out in nature a lot, and I've been working towards my YouTube and working towards my businesses. And that really fills me with a lot of purpose, and I think is the main reason why I don't feel lonely, because I'm working towards something myself. And this can go for any situation you can think of. This could go for college, this could go for getting out of college and being an adult, this could go for traveling. If you keep yourself busy, then you just naturally become less and less lonely. Which brings me to my next point, which is be with people. The worst thing you can do while you're lonely is be alone. It's fine being alone when you don't feel lonely and when you have people to go to. But when you're feeling lonely, being alone is just like an echo chamber of despair. It really is terrible. You're in your own thoughts every single day. You're constantly thinking about home and missing home, and you're not getting out there and experiencing where you are. So go to a cafe, go to a library. You don't even have to talk to anyone. I did this when I was feeling really, really lonely. I didn't want to talk to anyone because I don't know, I was in a pit of despair and I didn't want to talk to anyone. But even if I went to a cafe or went to a library where there were other people, I felt better. And just being with your fellow people make you feel like you're not alone, which, I mean, sounds obvious, but at the time for me wasn't obvious at all. Restaurants and cafes are great because there's a good atmosphere, there's people talking with one another, and in cafes you can even talk to people, even just small talk, and talking to a barista might even brighten up your day. You never know. Which brings me to my third point, which is do something nice for someone else. Generally, when you feel lonely, you're feeling just bad. You're not feeling good, you're in a bad mood all the time. So the counterintuitive thing here would be do something nice for someone else. You would think, oh, people should just be nice to me and then I'll feel better. But no, if you actually do something nice for someone else, you will feel better. The best way that I've found to get happier is being nice to other people. And maybe that's not the case for everyone, but at least for me, it has really, really helped me. Just putting on a smile and being nice to other people will trick your brain into thinking that it's in a better mood. So if you force more smiles, then you will actually naturally get happier. Which sounds a bit weird, but I've tested it and I haven't realized that I've been testing it, but looking back, I've noticed that I just felt better, even if I'm quote unquote faking a smile. And then the fourth point that I want to come across here is do something physically active. Like I said before, I wasn't doing anything physically active when I was being super lonely or when I was feeling really lonely. And once I started running when I was in London, I felt better. And I don't know the science behind it. I'm just giving you my own personal experience and how I dealt with loneliness. If you want to go look up the science behind it, I'm sure Andrew Huberman or some other scientist has a study out there about fitness, about how it makes you feel better. But at least for me, I've just noticed that if I just get out and do some sort of physical activity, that could be weight training, running, anything like that, even just walking, I feel better. And what I started building was an ideal morning routine. I would do a whole bunch of productive stuff in the morning, like I would run, I would script a video, and I would have breakfast within the first 2 hours of getting up in the morning. And so even if I didn't do anything for the rest of the day, which was rare, but sometimes would happen, I would still feel better if I didn't do anything at all. Because getting up and going for the run got me to want to do more productive things. So even if the productivity stopped at scripting a video, so after the run and after scripting the video, I would feel 10 times better. And this way you limit feeling useless and lonely because you're getting out, you're doing something physically active, and you're seeing people. And like we discussed before, those are all things that can make you feel better. And finally, we're at my last point for how to not be lonely, and that's to keep busy. In London, during my time in London, I was alone for most of the time, apart from 1 or 2 times where I went out with the hostel that I was at. I was still alone for most days, but I wasn't feeling lonely. And that was because I was keeping busy. I was going to museums. I went to a ton of museums like the Natural History Museum, British Museum, and I was learning about history and looking at art and being around other people again, and that felt amazing. And then I went to 2 theater shows, which were so fun. I saw Stranger Things, not musical, the Stranger Things play, which was 10 times better than I thought it was gonna be. Then I went to The Mousetrap, which is like an Agatha Christie murder mystery, and that was super fun. That just sort of energy lifted me up. It was truly amazing. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.